Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of Court of Swords. Is it 34? I think 34. Maybe 30?
That's 47 there, JP.
It's 47? Maybe
Can't
so.
believe it's almost 50.
It's 34. We're almost to 50. I don't know what that importance that has. Hello, everyone. Welcome episode 34, Court of Swords. What have you guys been up to? Both of you have been playing a lot of Prey. Adam, did you check out Prey? You're muted.
Good shit.
So I think you said no in a very Canadian way.
Yeah, that's what I said. No.
In a very Canadian
No.
way.
No, I've been busy with Persona still, so and like all the role playing games that I'm playing, so I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Is it good though? You digging it?
I think most people are liking it. I didn't like. I played the one demo that was severely fucked up on PS4, and so I didn't bother to go back. But apparently it's pretty good. I don't know. Most people are enjoying it. What do you guys think, Gassy and Dan?
Of what, Prey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying Prey. I was already kind of interested in Prey already, just from what I'd seen. I'd been like invited to check it out early, and for some reason the timing didn't line up, and I was really upset about it because it looks really cool. And then I played the demo. I was like, oh, this is pretty fucking cool. Like I enjoyed it. And then the more and more I've been playing the game, it's been a while since a game. It's not like it has the most original storyline ever. It takes like storylines that we've kind of seen before and just kind of wraps it into their new different wrapping, I guess you could say. And they've added kind of unique things to it. And I don't know. It's nothing that you haven't played before, I guess, with other games. Like it's got a little BioShocky. It borrows stuff from Half-Life. Sort of like breaking what you think you should be around as far as boundaries and shit. The UI is really good. A neat crafting thing that can sometimes, it doesn't feel too tedious to me, and I enjoy like fucking recycling shit and making crafting stuff. It simplifies something that could otherwise have been really, really complex if they let it fly off the rails.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing that ends up being a problem for it in terms of like sales numbers and stuff. And that I got that impression even without playing, just from watching other people talk about it and seeing stuff. It does just kind of look like a little bit from a bunch of different games and like maybe not anything big on its own, which I always feel like is kind of like, yeah, it's like, it's good. Like, cool. You made a 7, right? But yeah, like, is there anything that stands out about it that makes it like really good, or is it just kind of like, yeah, it's pretty good because it's similar to a lot of other things that
I don't know. I kind of want to hear what Dan has to think about it too. As somebody that's sunk a lot of hours into it.
Yeah, I beat the whole thing. It was okay. It was a game trying to be a lot of different things at once.
Yeah.
It wanted to be survival horror, but it also wanted to be a shooter. It also wanted to be a game where you have lots of cool powers that are over and interesting enemies and stuff. But like, I feel like it didn't quite focus on any one of those to be exceptionally good, but it was like decent at a bunch of different things around. But it kind of lacked focus for me. Like,
here's my question to you, Dan. How much were you like fucking crazy beefed up with powers by the end of it, or do you think you kind of crit pathed a lot where you didn't really have enough time to like get all the neuro mods and explore the power trees? Like the level trees?
I avoided the powers because the game implies that if you use these powers, you become more like the aliens, and then the turrets will turn on you and stuff. So I was thinking that it was going to be a good playthrough, and it would affect the ending if I did that. But it turns out that
probably doesn't make a difference.
Affect the ending. So I
hate when games
missed
do
out
that.
On all these powers and stuff. And then,
that sucks.
Man, that's so frustrating. It's like maybe you'll get the cool ending if you like avoid all these powers, but all you get is a slightly suboptimal game experience. Oh, that's irritating.
But it's made by the people that made Dishonored, so like it has a lot of that cool like powers and stealth and jumping around in cool environments and things.
Very fluid motion, like you'd expect from those games.
They're good about making stealth movement and stuff.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, like you said, it's a good way of putting it. It's a great game and it's really, really fun to play, but it does have a little bit of loss of focus for sure. Like because there's so much stuff that you can do in it. I forgot that I could even fucking run and just like slide. I haven't found myself needing to use that. And every now and then I'm like, how am I gonna get? Oh yeah, right. I can just slide. Like I forgot about that. It has like we just yoinked that from Dishonored, and but the game is really good. It's a solid game. It's well put together. It's well made. I've just been calling my streams Space Prop Hunt because of the whole fucking mimics. If you don't know, this isn't very spoilery, but the main thing you're going to go against is things called mimics. This this race of Typhon, or they're called. There's like different types of them, but the base level is a mimic, which is like kind of this little fucking, I don't know, how'd you put it, Dan? Like this like octopus kind of thing.
Yeah, so like a fast moving octopus
that's like made of tar, basically. And it can turn into anything. So it can be like, you know, this cup, or it can be like a chair. And if you're quick enough, when you walk into a room, you can see it like go and like change. You'll see them try to be like cheeky, and they're like, "Oh shit!" They just turn into something.
Or if you're low on health, it can be a med pack, and you go and grab it, and it kills you. I mean, the tech behind those things were really cool. Like just watching them like walk up something and bam, snap into it being an object. Like that, it's such a fluid movement. They did such a good job on the way those things move and how the tech like transfers from item to item.
The AI for that is like really good. They will, and they're not like just gonna like fucking hang around. They'll hang around if they think they can like, you know, get into an object real quick. Like they think they got the jump on you. But if you like spook them and like notice them, they'll like fucking scatter off into a different room and like go turn into something else nearby you. But that was one of the things I was like, okay, this is pretty fucking cool. And later too, I guess this isn't really a spoiler too. It's just another power you can have. You can eventually get those powers of the Typhon. There's like, it's separated between like normal powers like agility and like more inventory suits, and more like you can like slow down time for a bit to try to like, you know, get the jump on your enemies and you deal more damage. So just like more like superhuman kind of powers or whatever, just base level stuff. And then like Dan said, eventually you can get stuff that's from the Typhon, the enemies that you're fighting, and get powers from them. One of them being the fact that you can turn into a little object and prop hunt your way around to stealth or whatever. But what's interesting is there's a bunch of different things what I love about the game is that they've designed it where there's a bunch of extra stuff like rooms and safes that you can get to, or like say like a weapons cache of like an armory or something like that. And they've designed it so you can get to any given place, usually like 2 or 3 different ways. You can find a maintenance vent if you look around hard enough, or you can find a code, or you can hack the code on a safe or a door. Or if you don't want to go that way at all, like I found myself like, you'll know what I'm talking about, Dan, where you can choose to kill or keep a guy alive who's imprisoned already. And there's an armory code he's like, I can give you the armory code if you let me out, blah, 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 blah. He's like basically a piece of shit. And and so I eventually did, because I wanted to get the fucking armory code. And then afterwards I realized, oh shit, I can just turn into a fucking cup, go through this little slot in the armory thing, and then just fucking fuck you and kill him. So that's what I did. I just loaded back and did that shit.
Yeah,
so I like when they give you options.
That dev team is really good at like having things that aren't even part of the story. Just like, there's a room there, I want to get in there, and it's like this whole puzzle about how to get in that room and how to find the password to unlock the computer and stuff. They're very good at doing that kind of thing.
I think it's interesting seeing games that are designed with that explicitly in mind. That idea of like, okay, here's a room. The developers have created, 6 different ways you could get into that room, versus a game like Breath of the Wild, where I've seen like a ton of really cool videos for Breath of the Wild, where it's just like people using a combination of items and like the weird way that, Link acts when he gets hit to bypass puzzles like completely in ways. Like I love watching videos that make me think that the developer didn't even think to cause that solution. And that to me is the extra one. Like a clever developer is one thing, but a clever player overcoming or bypassing an obstacle by using items in a weird way is like a whole other level of cool. But it's nice when that's even a possibility in a game.
Yeah, and like someone was saying in chat too, it's like, oh, so it's like Deus Ex. Like, yeah, it does take that from Deus Ex. I think what I like about it more from Deus Ex over Deus Ex is a little more focused in that regard. I found myself in Deus Ex kind of being, I got a little bored in Deus Ex, because it was just kind of the same stuff over and over again. It took a little while, the pacing of it took a while for me. I don't know if anyone else was like that. And I also found myself with Deus Ex, a lot of the assets being reused over and over again. It's like, oh, I'm in a lab, there's computers everywhere. So that's the thing. I think if they overuse the same assets in this game without like designing them like all specifically, that I will say that's one thing with this game is like the attention to detail for the designing of the different environments and the different sections of the station that you get into is really good. It's really cool. That's one of the things that's keeping me interested in it, is that like I'm not getting bored of like the scenery, and they're introducing new new areas and new elements of things that are not just reusing the same old assets over and over again.
One negative part about the game is that there are really only 5 enemy types. There's a robot, a regular sized dude, mimic, and floaty blob. And granted, each of those things have variations on what they do. Like the floaty blob will have 3 different kinds of what it does, and then the dudes will have like fire, electric, or nothing. But the enemy variety is kind of lacking on the game. I think if they had more enemies and stuff, it would be a little better. But it kind of got towards the end of the playthrough. I was like, oh god, there's another one. There's another one. I just figured out how to just. The AI is kind of bad, so you can just learn how to just run past everything without getting hurt, because they're really bad at direct combat with you, because they want you to be stealthy and stuff. But if you're not stealthy, then they're like, oh shit.
Which is funny. It's funny because isn't that usually the opposite of how it works, right? Where it's like you're the one that gets screwed if you directly engage, right? If you try to run, everything will just pile on you and kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, and then some of the powers that I was seeing people do, like you become really overpowered towards the end, like with some of these monsters. You can stun them, you can just bypass them completely with their mimic powers. There's all kinds of things just to make the game very easy towards the end.
I heard when I was playing, I mentioned in my chat as I was playing, they give you in pretty early in the game, they give you the Huntress bolt caster or whatever, which is basically a Nerf dart, like a Nerf crossbow thing.
That was great, yeah.
And you can and it shoots little foam darts that can actually interact with like screens and stuff, so you can use it to like shoot a monitor to like unlock a door or something, and like interact with the little touchpad on the screen. And someone was telling me, I kept forgetting. I told chat, I'm like, I forget I have this thing. Like I could have used this thing for so many fucking things. And someone told me like, yeah, Dan actually uses that quite a lot in his playthrough. So it was interesting to hear that.
I figured that I found one enemy you can actually kill with those, and that's the floaty like balls that, like, you know, when you're in the 0G sections, there's like sacks of shit. Like if you hit them with anything, including one
they just kind of like they react, right?
They'll blow up and kill themselves. So yeah, I was using that to kill them, and it's like finally used for these darts. I got so many of them.
Max, did you ever play Quadrilateral Cowboy?
I did
that
not.
game? I think if you like the idea of like shooting the dart through the open window, like triggering the door opening thing, Quadrilateral Cowboy is that's the whole game. It's it's like kind of like a hacking game, but you're trying to steal stuff from vaults in a house, and you have your little computer, and you can override the security system. But part of it is like setting up turrets to shoot buttons and like timing that stuff. I think you give it a try. It's pretty fun. It's pretty cheap.
I have just purchased it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of short too. I don't think it's that long.
Yeah. You could play it in a day or two.
Oh, cool.
But it's pretty fun. Yeah, it's fun figuring out the puzzles and stuff.
When you have a top of the line hacking deck armed with a 56K modem and a staggering 256K RAM, it means just one thing. You answer only to the highest bidder. Nice. So you're just an old school hacker, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, and it's cool because it's like physical hacking rather than like you're in the Matrix doing like cyberpunk hacking. It's like you plug your computer into the security system of the house and then you mess with it. It was pretty fun.
What do you think? I'm just curious, Dan. What do you think is your favorite part of Prey? Like, what do you think is the thing that kept you going?
I really liked exploring. Like that was the one part I liked the most, was going into a new section, seeing all these rooms, seeing all these places, seeing locked things, and just trying to figure out how to get in that room to get that item, because I want it. It's shiny. I need it. That kept me going.
For me too.
It had just enough atmosphere and story and enemy stuff just to keep me interested and keep going. But like, I really liked exploring that giant space station. It's cool.
How did you find trying to remember which character was who and storylines that connect? And did you remember everybody, or was it just kind of like, I don't know who the fuck you are?
I was like, I don't care who you are. Like,
there's just so many people. That's the one thing, is the voice acting's good from what I've encountered, and you get audio logs, which I love. I love audio logs, especially ones that are well acted. But there's just so many people on this station, and you'll like hear a little bit of a storyline, and you won't hear that storyline until you like discover, like, say, an hour and a half later in another room, and then you get another little excerpt of that. And I'm sure these things are interconnecting, and it's a really cool, like, interweaving story, but between everything else in the game, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I have like the general idea, but you really have to be paying attention, reading every single fucking thing in order to like really get like the subtext of what's happening, and you know, all these different subplots that are going on between characters in the station.
I've never understood this thing about people in spaceships in a horror game that have like 30 recorders, and they all record a few seconds on each one, drop it in one room, go down the room.
I know.
Drop another bit in the other room.
It's such a I look at that now. It's like such a lazy way to handle story development throughout a game. Like it's been done for like 20 years now, ever since Half-Life did it, right? I think Half-Life was the first.
Second only to text logs in terms of how, like, you walk into a room and here's a 4-page thing you need to read.
Yeah.
I think it's harder. It's harder because with audio logs, like with a text log, you have to stop or you don't read it, right? It's like you pick up
Yeah.
a book, and like, I mean, Max, you like the Skyrim, you know what this is about. You pick up the
Yeah.
book. All right,
Yeah.
spend 10 minutes reading this 40-page
Exactly,
thing,
yeah.
Yeah.
or don't.
The lusty Argonian maid. It's a good
But
one.
with an audio
Favorite.
log, they really have to design the level around the log if they want you to like pay attention to it, because nothing can happen in the amount of time it takes for you to listen to that log. But they can't just trap you in a room to listen to it. Doom was so bad for this. Doom was like,
yeah.
here are some non-explicit like audio logs you could listen to if you want to. Go get in a fight. It's not a big deal. But as soon as you knew that they had a big lore bomb to drop on you, they would like lock the door and be like, no, the robot needs to talk now. You can't go anywhere. So you're just running around in circles being like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Let me play the game.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
Audio logs are very tricky to pull off, I think. Very, very
I'd
hard
like
to
a
pace.
game to like poke fun at that and just like make it be a part of like.
Well, that
Remember,
was-
protocol dictates that you have a minimum of 10 audio recorders around your waist belt at any given time.
Well, Doom tried to poke fun at that at the beginning, but then they turned on themselves. Like at the very beginning, you get a screen that's like, we're going to tell you all about and the guy punches it. He's like, no, shut up. I'm the Doom guy. I'm going to go do Doom stuff. But then the game flip-flops and just pours audio logs all over you for the whole rest of the game. But yeah, it would be funny to see someone like in character explain that. Like, I keep losing my audio log machine and have to keep getting new ones. Or like, someone keeps stealing my audio recorders, right? And you come into a room full of them, like there's a pile of recorders.
Someone needs to make a comedy horror game where they make fun of all these horror tropes in games, like audio logs and stuff, where the game's like kind of scary, sort of like Shaun of the Dead, where it's like half horror, half comedy. I think it would be a great game.
Maybe the guy from what's it called? Stanley's Parable. Make him make something.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't do it though.
Yeah.
Adam had strong
it's your
feelings
idea.
about Stanley's Parable. I think we recovered this before.
I think so.
Yes.
I think we did.
Both of his games are so bad.
Is it because of the whole thing? Like he didn't actually make a game in your eyes? It was just like poking fun at.
No. I think they're both games. They're both actually games. I just don't.
But
like
they think they're cleverer than they actually are, or.
I don't know. I think the first game is kind of like a one-trick pony, and you get it, and he keeps just like hammering it over and over and over. Like Stanley Parable is not. It's not a good. It doesn't express the things he's trying to express in any kind of clear, concise way. Like you get the joke pretty quickly, and then it's like, eh.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then his second game is about how hard it is to be a successful game developer.
Wait,
and
he made a second. What was the second one he made?
Oh God, what was it called? I played it. It's like about an hour and a half
I forget the
long,
name too.
and I freaking hated it. Yeah, I can't even remember. I've
Don't give it
blocked
any more publicity. I'm with you.
Someone in chat will remember what it was called, but it was frustrating because that whole game was just about how hard it was that Stanley Parable was successful and what it's like when Beginner's Guide, that's what it's called. Thank you. That and what it's like trying to make another game after you've made a successful game. And I mean I get it. Like art is hard.
It's hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah, but like make a game and make it interesting and cool and stop. We don't need a game that just complains about how hard it is to make games. People should know
like
already.
YouTubers complaining about how shitty YouTube is. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fuck YouTubers.
Yeah, they're the worst.
They're the
Well, no,
worst
it
for
would
sure.
be like making a highly pretentious YouTube video about how hard it is to make YouTube videos, rather than like making a video and being like YouTube sucks is fine. You can make a game about how Steam sucks. That might actually be interesting. But it felt really self-involved, and that really frustrated me. I don't like when people make games and then expect you to buy them so that they can just whine about how hard it is that you bought their last game.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You gonna play Prey, JP?
Nope. Zero interest.
Solid.
Dude, that PS4 demo was just a steaming pile of trash. It was.
Well, yeah, I wanted to
awful.
hear real quick. What made you hate that?
Well, first
demo? 'Cause
off, let's just
Okay,
say
go
I don't know how people can play console games anymore. That just felt bad. It was just a bad experience across the board. It was like sub 30 FPS, and the controls felt like shit, and like there was input delay. Like I would hit a button, and then it was like almost half a second or like 3/4 of a second later, the fucking button would actually go off in game because there's terrible. This is only the PS4 version, from what I was told.
Yeah.
You would get into a fight scene, like a combat scene, and you know that like loud fucking music that they blare in the game whenever that
Oh my
happens.
god, yeah, the menu music was just like, "Bruh."
It doesn't go away on the PS4 demo. It just
Oh,
stays
God.
unless you go into another menu and like force it away. So it's just like a
Jesus.
bad 2 hour experience or like hour experience. I ended up quitting about 45 minutes into it because it was so terrible. I think they came out and said that it was a bad experience too. Like don't play this demo or patched it or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have
What
any.
did
God,
you
you
play
gotta
it on,
you gotta know that's gotta sting for the devs too. Like, cause it's a real thing. Like, you put out a bad demo and people are it's gonna reflect on the game, no matter how much you say, no, I was just, the demo was bad, just the real game is better. But it's
Exactly
like, you
right,
got
yeah.
you got your shot. I spent my time, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on. I got other
It's
games.
like a bad pilot on a TV show.
Yeah.
The funny part about
might have
that
turned into a good show, but
is I think for all of their sponsored streams, they told all of the streamers to play the Xbox One version, I think, which is pretty
Yeah.
hilarious. Because they knew that the PS4 version was fucked up. I'm not 100% certain of that. But I think that's quite
what,
comical.
what was their reasoning for was it because they didn't, I heard the reasoning for not wanting a PC demo, they didn't want anybody to like data mine
Data
it
mine
and
the
figure
files,
out, like,
yeah.
data mine files, yeah, okay.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's happened with some other games in the past that it's like not
It's
even a big
unfortunate
deal.
though, because that
I don't
sucks.
know.
Because I would much rather have played a PC demo of that shit. 'Cause it runs
Yeah.
so much better on PC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Although
it's a good port, surprisingly.
Yeah, everyone says
minus-
PC version's great.
minus the fact that I don't know if they've updated at this point, but you have to disable motion blur manually by going in and
Yeah,
changing the config file, and also
Oh,
if you
really?
want to change your
Yeah.
FOV,
Oh,
you
that
can't change your
sucks.
FOV unless you go into the config file.
they
That's
said they're
shit.
going to patch those options in with the next
Yeah,
patch. But
it's a little weird
it's-
that they didn't have
it's
that.
something that should have been in the game at
Yeah,
launch.
that's like pretty standard. Especially with me, I can't fucking stand motion blur. I don't
can't
care if
either.
it's like
It's awful.
designed to be that way. I'm like, it's a video game. I don't need to see like just fucking blur everywhere. Like,
Yeah. I don't know why
But-
that's in any PC games. It just looks bad.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just try to simulate like reality, right? Like that things blur when you move your head around, but it never does it in a smooth way. It does it in a very like jarring sort of.
and also
confusing
you're
way.
playing it. Well, at least we're playing like on our high-end PCs with 144 refresh rate, like moving very fast, much faster than you would normally if you were like actually walking around in a haunted mansion or something like that. Like, and that's really strenuous on your eyes. Like that's
Yeah.
I fucking hate that shit. That's why I always disable any post-processing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess in terms of the other media that I've consumed, I watched The Revenant over the weekend.
Oh,
Ooh, what'd you
dude,
think of that?
that's so.
It was
What'd
in
you think of,
4K. It was
Leo has a bad day.
yeah, no, that movie was like, hey, watch Leo just have bad things happen to him for 3 hours. And it was pretty alright. That bear scene is pretty fucking terrifying, man.
Yes.
Like after
Yeah.
he gets his shit all tore up, then he gets his gun out because he knows that bear's coming back, and you're just like, God damn it, please don't come back, Mr. Bear. And he like rips his fucking back open and like claws his fucking face off. Just fucked up. And then when he's on the river and he like takes a sip of water and he drinks the water and it comes out the hole in his fucking throat.
Yeah.
I was like, ouch. That's
You never drank water and had it come out of your throat hole?
yeah. That was
so
that was crazy.
that scene, and I you know, I'm a big fan of movies where bad shit happens to the protagonist like all the way through. Like I love The Road. What's that movie from the 90s where the dude his car breaks down on the highway in LA and he just goes on this like horrible adventure. God, someone in chat's gonna remember it for me, but
I
it's
don't know.
it's basically the like hero's journey, but it's just constant bullshit happening to the same character all day. I love that stuff, and the scene with the bear in that movie made me think of every D&D fight with like a dragon or whatever, and what it would actually be like, rather
Yeah.
than like I hit him with my sword. Cool, the dragon hits you with his claw, you take 5 damage. It would be like, yeah, cool, he rips your arm off and
Yeah.
then knocks you on the ground and just starts chewing on your organs.
You're
now
dead.
what? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's,
falling down.
I think
was
I've
the
seen
movie
that
was-
before.
Yeah, falling down was fucking awesome.
But yeah, that movie was crazy. And then he takes the gunpowder and puts it in his neck and then starts
Yeah.
a fire.
He's
and then
got to
takes
fucking
the thing- yeah, to, like,
cauterize that shit. He's got to seal
cauterize
it up.
the
You can't just have shit dripping out his throat hole.
Yeah.
That movie was nuts. There was, I knew it was dark going in, but I was like, oh, that was pretty dark. And then to counterbalance the darkness of The Revenant, I watched Planet Earth 2
There you
in
go.
4K.
That's nice.
That stuff is, I can't even like speak highly enough about that shit and how
I
they
love
film that
shows
crap.
like that.
They do
I mean, I don't-
it's ridiculous.
I don't want to be a buzzkill about Planet Earth not being like a dark movie, but what's great about watching that is the realization that like, yeah, in 20 or 30 years, most of those animals will just be dead.
Well, no,
and
they
most of
talk
the
about
places will be
they
flooded.
definitely
Yeah.
talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
Which is why it'll be really nice that we have it documented. Like, remember when
Exactly,
we had all
yeah.
these beautiful creatures and then we fucked it all up?
Yeah,
If only somebody had warned us.
yeah. It's the second episode. So the first one was islands, and the second one was called mountains, or was about mountains, mountainous life, and they have snow leopards in the second one, and it was hilarious because here I am like watching a 4K movie, right? And like it's like, and watch now is it's David Attenborough. I can't do his voice. Watch now as the snow leopard marks his territory and rubs his chin against the rock, and then sprays it. And then they just showed like 30 seconds of cats pissing on rocks in 4K, where you can vividly see the piss going on the rocks. They like zoom in and focus on them. Like, what? Come on, man. I understand that they're marking their territory. Like leaving a trail for other snow leopards to let them know that they've already come through this area. Stop.
Yeah.
I don't want to see this shit.
Who narrated
Listen.
it? Was it David Attenborough?
Yeah, David Attenborough, yeah.
Some cinematographer guy had to wait 6 months to get that piss shot. So give him his moment, JP.
I
Well,
like
that's the
thinking about
crazy
that,
thing, yeah.
I really love thinking about like how long it takes to get the exact shot that they want.
Most of those shows have the kind of like post show, like this is what it's like
It
filming
has
this
one of
thing,
them, yeah. I
right?
haven't
And,
watched it yet.
oh man, they're really intense. Like it's like, okay, these shots of these polar bears, to get these, we waited a year and a half in the Arctic.
Well,
Like,
they've
guys
changed. The
hanging out,
technology
taking
has
shots.
changed now. They use remote camera technology, and the camera just sits in these areas. My understanding is it just sits in these areas, and when it detects movement, that's when it comes on and starts recording.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how long the camera sat in this area for these particular snow leopards, but it must have been months, man. It must have been like 6 or 7 months of just sitting there waiting for it to pass. And the other crazy thing is like they're 4K cameras, so they just have like these stupid expensive cameras just sitting up in the mountains for like 6 months, and then they go and collect the data, because I don't think it streams anywhere. I think it just stores locally. But that stuff's insane. Like I haven't seen I haven't watched anything past the first 2 episodes, but I'm excited because the next one's jungle. They're gonna get into some crazy shit. They did the one on Crab Island, the Red Crab Island, and how humans fucked it up because they brought ants onto the island, and now the ants are taking over the island and killing all the crabs.
Jesus.
I forgot what type of ants they are, but they showed like this crab getting attacked by these ants. The ants are literally spitting acid onto the crab's eyes and mouth to kill it.
Jesus. Ants are crazy.
You see these like little fucking like ants just like walking around, crawling around on this crab, just spitting acid onto it.
They're basically just xenomorphs is the thing.
Yeah, that island is going to become hell because ants are
Can
going
you
to fucking
imagine
rule it.
fucking ants being
They're the
even
dominant.
just like
yeah.
a little bit bigger than what they are?
Yeah, they're going to be the dominant species on that island. Well, they already are, really. They kill the ant, or they kill the crabs. And the crabs are like, I think they said there's like, I don't know, like 1.5 million crabs or something on this island. And the ants are just like destroying them. And,
Yeah, because I'm sure they have way more numbers than that.
yeah, they said like 4, I think it was like, I don't know. I'll make up number, like 5 years or something like that. They're just all going to be gone because humans brought a boat there that had these ants on it. Which is kind of
That's
crazy.
kind of nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about. But yeah, I want to watch more of that. And the other thing too is seeing that stuff at that resolution is like, I'm glad I actually can watch that stuff now. That warranted the purchase of that TV because nothing else has done that yet. Same as the Revenant.
We're getting
though.
pretty close.
The Revenant has shots in that movie that are just like, what the fuck, man? This is like stupidly gorgeous.
Yeah, I remember one of the first things I ever watched on Blu-ray and like HD was the first Planet Earth. So yeah, it's cool that there's people out there making like really cool looking shit that takes advantage of the tech that isn't just like a big Hollywood movie.
Yep. No, that was cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a show about D&D, so we should probably play some.
Also, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is good.
Yes, it was. I forgot I watched that. That was a great movie.
They did overuse some jokes quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. I mean,
I know.
I want to argue with you about that.
I didn't
But-
dislike it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mind all the jokes being constantly hounded. I like the throwback to the first movie jokes with Rocket. That was pretty funny. Where he takes the guy's eye. Like a couple people laughed in the theater, and I was like, "That's right, you guys saw the first one. Good job, everyone." You remember that joke?
I felt like most of the jokes were that, where they're like, it felt like every story meeting for the show there was a producer sitting in on the meeting with a little clicker, one of those like traffic clickers, and every time someone made an "I am Groot" joke, they were like, "All right, good, you gotta keep your quota up. Yep, people like Groot, gotta get that Groot. Okay, all right, nope, you can't go home till we get 3 more Groots. Okay, now you can go."
I mean, he's going to be the major merchandise of that movie,
exactly.
So that's why they do it. But opening scene was pretty good scene. I was pretty happy with how they opened that movie. Right from the very fucking first 20 seconds where he starts dancing. It's pretty good.
Yeah, there was some pretty solid stuff. I agree.
But yeah, let's jump into Court of Swords.
Yeah, let's do it.
And have Dan and Max kill each other.
Yeah, there was a bit of a spat at the end of the last episode over some sensitive topics. Some angry words were thrown, and I think what we'll probably start with is, because I know Azrael, you stormed off with somewhere to go, right? You got a place to be. So why don't you tell us, Dan, where do we see Azrael when we fade in on the episode? Where's Azrael at?
Azrael standing there in the dark, looking at the door of the tea house where Grasping Hand usually stays. Blood still coming down the side of his face, and he's just thinking about, in his mind, I could get rid of this problem now. Grasping Hands could take care of Berg for me, and then I could get on my way with what I want, with what I need to do. But he's hesitant. He's hesitating. And out of the corner of his eye, he sees an owl perched up on the roof, staring at him, and just thinks to himself, like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is my burden now. It's weighing on me, and I don't know if I can control this myself. There's something in him that I have to deal with. There's a reason that I was here, and you knew that, and they knew that too. And I'm looking right at the owl. And
yeah, the owl stares placidly down at you in the darkness. I think that it's raining. We can see rain coming down behind you in the background of the scene. You're standing under an awning, and the owl just kind of like tilts its head slightly.
It's the messengers of heaven often come in the form of animals, as to sort of keep an eye on things in a very subtle way, because heaven usually tries to not interfere with mortals unless it directly involves heaven. And this particular instance of knowing that the fountain itself is in peril, Azrael looks to the owl and says, I need help. This is bigger than the mortals. Something is wrong. I need you to get someone for me. I need help from you. Looking right at the owl. Speaking through the owl to heaven itself. I need a messenger. I don't know what to do, and this concerns the fountain itself. Please give my message. The fountain itself is in danger.
So you're going to send your friend Balder, send your familiar to find you, to carry your message to heaven, to bring aid. That's what you'd like.
Yeah, because all Aasimar have a connection to heaven, usually in being sort of is around, and that it took Azrael a while to figure out that that's what Balder was. It's a messenger of heaven, just keeping eye on the Aasimar, like, because the Aasimar themselves can't have too much knowledge of heaven for heaven's sake. So when you go into a body, a lot of your memories of heaven and a lot of super secret stuff's kind of removed, and the messenger sort of watches the angel and is sort of a middleman between heaven and the Aasimar.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that you deliver that imperative to Balder, who who flaps his wings and takes off into the night. And what do you what do you do? Do you stand a moment in the doorway, or do you turn to leave?
Stand a minute in the doorway, still looking at the door, still just filled with just a feeling of how dare he lay his hands on me after all I've done for him. And then knowing that grasping hands can't be trusted, that I have to deal with this myself. It just Azrael just turns back and walks back to the house, knowing that this is something he's going to have to handle with a higher power than just grasping hands.
Okay. All right, so you step out into the rain, and and I think that as we see you leave, we stay on a lingering shot of the doorway. The door opens, and we see grasping hands step out into the sort of pool of warm light that spills from the doorway. He's holding his pipe in his hand. And has his monk's robes on, one shoulder kind of having slipped over his like rocky arm. He steps out and he watches Azrael go. Takes a long drag on his pipe, and the red of the coals illuminate his face in the dark. And as he exhales a cloud of bluish smoke, he just kind of shakes his head and watches after you. One eyebrow raised slightly. But doesn't choose to call out for you or address it. But he noticed you waiting by the door, and he turns back, pulls up his sleeve, and goes back into his establishment. So meanwhile, while you were doing that, after you've left, and as the storm kind of picked up, Blackgale and Berg, where do you go? What have you been doing this evening?
Berg's been inside, not asleep. He still has all of his armor on. He's kind of just has his hammer, and he's like flinging it and like carrying it, feeling the weight of it. Every now and then, frustrated, throwing it down like against the ground, just like just trying to calm himself, but thinking about how things played out. I don't know what Berg.
Yeah, Jubilant Blackgale, are you with Berg?
No, I think. I mean, how recent how much time has passed since Azrael's left?
I mean, Azrael's been gone. I don't know, Azrael. Did you go straight there because it's in the neighborhood, or did you walk around for a while first? How long have you been gone?
Probably not many more than 10 minutes, I would say. Just wasn't that long.
Okay, so it's in the moments where you can still feel the kind of thunderclap of the two of them and their emotional outrage resounding in the air. It's still tense. So you haven't there hasn't been a lot of time for it to kind of fade.
Okay. I think, like I said last episode, Gail's seen, in the roost, birds fought all the time. This type of shit happened all the time. And so in his mind, it's only normal. So he's just going up to his perch and probably going to sleep since it's late at night. Or evening. I don't know what time it is specifically, but
yeah, it's night. It's nighttime. Yeah.
So I'm just hobbling up to the perch inside.
Okay. All right. So with Jubilant Blackgale gone up to bed and Berg, you being alone, do you wait up for Azrael to come back? Do you try to sleep?
Berg is he's half waiting to, just because he's too fired up to go to sleep, and he's also waiting because he doesn't know how Azrael is going to react, and he doesn't want to get killed in his sleep. So
yeah.
Berg's in survival mode right now. He's just like, he doesn't know a lot about Azrael. He knows he's part of the fountain and an angelic being, but to anybody that Berg has ever encountered before, generally throwing them down and causing them to bleed might cause them to try to kill you. So he's waiting up to either fight or see how Azrael responds.
Okay, Azrael, on your way back from the tea house where Grasping Hands works, do you take a direct route home, or do you linger? Do you wander a bit?
I think I linger and wander. Gotta
Okay.
calm down.
Okay, can you make a perception check for me?
11.
Okay. Okay. So you're in like a back alley, and you've wandered this neighborhood in the rain for a little while. And it is much as it is on any given night, right? There's the rain, the warm rain of the rainy season, kind of collecting in the gutters above and then spilling down into the streets. Businesses or houses that think to notice will hang a rope or chain from their eaves to help the water drain down into these big barrels in the streets. But mostly there's puddles in the street, and there are pools of light from the various brothels and bars that line all of the streets in Devil's Cradle. And so, we see shots of Azrael's face, hair matted by the rain, and you're illuminated in red and orange lights. You move through the streets here. And what's the look on your face? Like, what emotion do we imagine that Azrael is feeling when you're wandering?
Probably intense thought with a bit of anger, just sort of going over his head, just sort of tell like I'm not like looking at anything. I'm sort of concentrating and thinking to myself angrily about something.
Okay. You hear a voice as you maybe as you stop on a corner to decide where next to go. You hear a woman's voice from a pool of light nearby say, "A handsome stranger looking troubled in Devil's Cradle. I think you've wandered to the right corner, Tianxi." And when you look over, there's a woman. She's dressed fancily, I guess. She's wearing a long, like a silk, like deep blue silk kind of kimono, and it's open a bit lasciviously at the shoulder. You can't see her face because she's holding a fan, like a wide blue fan, and on the fan there are two drawings of two dragons, like tangled up on this fan, and she's holding it and fanning some of the because it's raining, but it's like a hot kind of like jungle night, so it's it's quite warm, and she's fanning herself. And you can see, she's got a long, like gray blue hair that's tied up in a complicated arrangement of knots on her head with two big like spikes holding it up, two big like hair spikes. And and she looks over her fan at you with these like just beautiful sapphire blue eyes. So she says that, and then like looks at you standing in the rain.
Were you speaking to me?
She nods, and she looks around and she says, "We do not see a lot of angels in Devil's Cradle. Come in out of the rain." And she gestures with a lacquered hand for you to at least step out of the rain and under the eave she's standing under.
I think Azrael, in politeness, will stand under the awning, but at a distance from her.
Yeah, I mean, even at this distance, you take a step closer, and she... you can smell above the kind of wet cement smell of the city streets. You smell her perfume, which smells like spring flowers. And she closes her fan when you get closer, so you can see the rest of her face. She has this like alabaster skin, very fine, almost like noble features. She appears to be a genasi. You can tell by the way that her hair is moving on its own, and by the fact that she's just like more beautiful than a human has any right to be. And so she snaps the fan out of the way gently, and she looks at you and she says, "You look to be a drowned rat. I'm glad you got out of the rain. You might have rusted." and she smiles. Her lips are painted with this like lapis pigment, so they're like a deep blue.
Can I, are her arms exposed or are they covered with a sleeve?
She has long blue sleeves. Yeah.
So I can't see if she has tattoos or anything.
No.
What are you doing out here very late?
She smiles and she says, "They do not have women of my profession where you're from." And she like kind of looks over her shoulder, and she's standing in the doorway. There's these two painted wooden like golden dragons, and then there's the characters above it for like House of Comfort. And you can hear, like faint music from inside. Maybe you hear like a man's laughter. And there's like this kind of like warm light coming out of the room.
Oh. Are you trying to sell breeding?
She laughs and shakes her head. And she says, not that you wouldn't make excellent stock, but no, we offer other things. As it says, comfort from hardship. And she takes a step towards you. Do you move or do you back up?
I back up and immediately.
She puts her hands up like to placate you, like, oh, don't be like you would with a frightened bird that you're trying to like pick up, right? Like she puts her hands up, like don't worry, and she still approaches but more slowly, and she says, surely they must have pleasure in heaven.
Of course they have pleasure in heaven. Heaven itself is pleasure. Love is everywhere. Someone doesn't need to give it to another person. All have love there.
She kind of like looks down and looks back at you, and she says, unfortunately here we must work for our coin, and some wish to pay for love when it is not so easily found. She gestures and says, won't you come inside? It's getting late, and I don't think the rain's going to let up.
I think you've mistaken me for someone else, madam. I have no need for your mortal pleasures. I have much greater things to worry about. I bid you farewell. May your business be great tonight.
So you turn to leave, because right now you're facing her and the light in the building behind her. You turn around, and standing in the street, you see a huge dude in lamellar armor, with this big, thick, like greatsword he's like leaned on, and next to him, you see a woman, similarly like in armor, holding a like a tetsubo. It's like a big iron stick, basically. And then somewhere behind them, kind of in the shadows, you can just barely make out a third figure, but he's kind of in the haze of the mist across the street. And the big guy, the guy in the armor, looks at you and he shakes his head and he says, "Our sister gave you an invitation, Angel. You wouldn't want to offend her." And he takes a step towards you. And the dude is human, but he is like pushing Berg height, and he's incredibly broad-shouldered and quite large. The girl's big too, but he imposes himself towards you.
Oh, I see. It's like that, is it?
And the woman says, "Yes, it's just like that." And she like taps the bow in her hand, like her stick, a couple of times.
What is the fee for me to pass?
The big guy laughs, and he looks at the girl next to him, and he says, "A fee? You hear that, Kalani?" He thinks we're robbers, and she chuckles, and she shakes her head and says, "No, no, Tenchi, not a fee to leave. We just want to have a friendly talk." And you can feel behind you the air genasi. You can feel like your clothes like flutter a little as she stands closer, and you can feel her put a hand on your shoulder.
I immediately turn around and look at her.
Yeah. So her sleeve has slipped down. You can see that her arm has these like swirling blue like tattoos on them. And she says, "Yes, Tianchi, just come inside. We only want to have a friendly chat. You have something we want."
I know what you want. But unfortunately, it's a little more complicated than just giving it to you.
The big guy shakes his head and he says, "Only complicated if you think it is." And he like looks around. He says, "I'm getting bored of standing in the rain." And he kind of like turns you around, unless you resist. He like goes to turn you around and like kind of push you inside.
I push him away, and I'm like, I will carry myself inside.
Okay.
And just my casually walk inside with them.
Okay. All right. So the big guy and his darker skinned companion, the woman with the club, they follow you in. We see the girl outside, the Genasi, like look across the street at whoever was kind of like lurking in the shadows. She makes a hand gesture and then goes inside after the two of them. So Berg, it's been a while. Maybe Azrael's gonna be out all night. Maybe not. But he doesn't look like he's just gonna like take a walk around the block and come back. Night is carrying on.
So how long would you say it's been since our spat?
I don't know, a couple hours maybe.
Okay. Is Jubilant awake or?
Nope.
I mean, yeah, you look over at the perch and JP, what does Berg see?
He's sitting just like always, perched up with his legs up in his chest, basically, hunched over the side of the building, asleep, making bird noises. I don't know what birds sound like when they sleep.
Generally, I don't think they make.
Yeah, they don't
much
make any
noise.
sounds. They're just sitting there.
Some cooing noises.
No, not cooing. He's definitely not alarmed by the situation, though, or doesn't seem too interested in your mental state after the dispute.
Yeah. I think Berg's still there, a bit calmed down now, just because he's, been sitting there. He's still kind of waiting to see if Azrael's coming. It's becoming less and less he's worried about getting killed in his sleep, kind of. But I don't know. Berg's trying to think really hard on this, and it's kind of hurting his head a little bit. So he's not sure if he should go out and find Azrael, because now it's getting to the point where Berg's kind of just impatient, or if he should just wait. So I think, given that it's been only like a couple hours, and Azrael's he's an adult, he's probably going to wait a little bit longer, just to see what's going on. Berg does not plan on sleeping tonight until this is resolved somehow, because it's mainly, again, Berg's in survival mode. He's still pretty fired up, but he's a little bit calmer than before. He's just worried about what Azrael might do, and he's in self-preservation mode. He doesn't want to get his throat cut during, in sleep. If he's going to die, he's going to die in combat.
Yeah, right. Die with his boots on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so we get a scene of Berg kind of looking tense and sleepless in the house in Devil's Cradle, and then we cut back to the inside of this brothel. So in this place, we get a nice long establishing shot of on the ground floor there are a lot of low tables. The lighting in here is almost universally red. There are a variety of mostly humans sitting with other humans. Groups of men and women being attended to by the employees of this place. Mostly women, but some men, all dressed finely, and they're drinking and talking. Some are playing that like tile, that kind of mahjong game that we described before, but not in the same way the Yakuza type guys, like with the slamming and the shouting. They're just gently like clacking tiles on the table and talking and laughing, and it's very quiet. As you pass through, there's a person, can't tell their gender, sitting on a stage playing a shamisen. They have a long veil covering their face and robes covering most of their body you can't see, but they're playing this beautiful, like slightly melancholy song on the shamisen in their lap. The instrument itself is made out of like a beautiful dark lacquered red wood. And so we pan across the shot to a table in the back, where Azriel, you are sitting with the woman that initially talked to you, the larger woman, the woman from the Court of Cups, and then behind your seat, we see maybe like pushing the chair up under behind you is the big guy with the sword, though his sword is now like across his back. And I think the person doing the most of the conversing with you is the Genasi, the air Genasi. And so she's sitting down across from you, and one of the other people that works here has brought a bottle of some kind of wine and a bunch of small little lacquered glasses. And so she like sweeps her sleeve out of the way very ritualistically and pours you a glass of this wine and picks it up with her long, delicate fingers and sets it in front of you before pouring for herself and for her companions. Do you drink it, or?
No, I let it sit there.
I know it sounds really threatening when I ask specifically, but I'm curious.
Yeah. Do you drink it?
How do you
do that?
How much do you drink of it at once?
Tastes metallic. Oh.
Yeah. No, you just look at it.
I just look at it. Azrael doesn't really ever drink, except for to be polite sometimes. I look over her and I'm like, well, you know who I am, but I don't know who you guys are. Do you have a name?
She smiles and she says, we only know you by reputation and by the company you keep, which is why we're going to have this conversation in the first place. But I always believe pleasure comes before business. Have a drink with me. And she like picks up her little cup, like holds it to you.
All right. I grab the glass and tap it against her and take a tiny sip.
Sure. Yeah. She sips delicately and places it on the table, and we can see we get a nice like low angle, low depth of field shot of the imprint of her bottom lip, the blue makeup on the edge of the cup. And then we fade it out to refocus on you. I don't know that you know good wine from bad, but it's very smooth, and immediately you get like kind of a pleasant warm feeling that spreads from your stomach to your head. But you're not dizzy. You don't feel like drugged or anything. But yeah. And so she smiles and she says, "I hope it is to your liking. It's of a very old vintage from the north." She waits on your approval.
What court is to the north?
The court of coins.
Okay. It does taste quite good. Thank you very much for your generosity.
The girl the girl in the armor, she's got a familiar looking holy symbol around her neck. I think I described it in the last episode. She says something in a dialect that you don't understand, and then the big guy responds to her. They say something, and then they both chuckle like she made a joke. And she the girl she says, but now that we've had a drink together and we're friends, I might as well introduce myself and my companions. She gestures to the broad-shouldered woman. She says, "This is Kalani Brokenheart. She's a priest, I think, of sorts." Kalani grumbles something at her and kind of like nudges her with her elbow. The girl turns to her big companion behind you, who is now sitting next to you. He's like pulled out a chair and he sat down on it. But really, the chair is only enough to support like one butt cheek. Like, dude's pretty big, so he's kind of like perched on the chair, and you can see he's like a little nervous that it's gonna collapse. But he grins at you. He's this big, broad smile, and he introduces himself. He says, "I'm Li Dao, Glory's Mountain. You can call me Big Lee if you want. And he puts a hand like on the table as if to prove his point, and his hands are these like big, fucking meaty fists, and he grins at you. And then the girl says, "There's a fourth member of our group, but he regrettably could not make this meeting. I am known as Hell's Forgotten Daughter Shan." And she kind of like gives you this like imperious bow, and she says, "We know you by your companions, but who are you?" And she grins kind of impishly.
You can call me Azrael. Don't really have much in terms of title or land or names. Azrael is fine.
So she grins and says, "Very well, Azrael. We would like to discuss something with you. Something that has to do with your friend Berg." And she flashes this kind of predatory smile. You can see her incisors for the first time, and I think that's where we fade to our first break.
Cool. Don't die, Dan. We're not there.
Oh.
Oh, don't worry.
I don't think he's concerned about dying right now.
I'm gonna try to be clever.
Just start running. Just run. You could probably.
I have
beat him.
means of escape.
He's gonna frick him. He's gonna frick Berg right in the.
You also have a beard. You could just freak him out. Just pull all your beard hair out, and then see if it regrows immediately. Just freak him out.
Yeah, try to immediately grow beard hair.
Yeah.
My beard starts growing so much the room fills with hair, and no one can.
No one can move. I've got them in.
They're all pushed against the walls.
Exactly. All right, let's take our first break. Still got 3 hours left to go here on Court of Swords. Don't go there. We'll be back with hour number 2 of week 34. We'll be right back.